Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. In this video I'm going to talk about two science fiction books about Mars. The first is Prime Meridian by Silvia Moreno-Garca, and the second is The Martian by Andy Weir. Before I talk about Prime Meridian, I want to give a short biography of Silvia Moreno-Garca, and this biography is from her internet page. Silvia Moreno-Garca is the author of Silver Nitrate, The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, Mexican Gothic, and many other books. She has won the Locust, British Fantasy, and World Fantasy Awards. Mexican by birth, Canadian by inclination, Canchilla and Canuck, originally from Baja California, she now resides in Vancouver. She has an MA in Science and Technology Studies from the University of British Columbia. Silvia Moreno-Garca is the author of a number of critically acclaimed novels, including Gods of Jade and Shadow, Sunburst Award for Excellence in Canadian Literature of the Fantastic, Ignite Award, Mexican Gothic, Locust Award, British Fantasy Award, Pacific Northwest Book Award, Aurora Award, Goodreads Award. And Velvet Was the Night, finalist for the Los Angeles Times Book Prize and the McCavity Award. She writes in a variety of genres, including fantasy, horror, noir, and historical. She has edited several anthologies, including She Walks in Shadows, World Fantasy Award winner, published in the USA as Cthulhu's Daughters. Silvia is the publisher of Innsmouth Free Press. Her fiction has appeared in numerous magazines and anthologies, including Best American Mystery and Suspense. Prime Meridian is a novella. It's set in Mexican City. The actual time it's set isn't given, but it's probably around 2017, 2018, which is the time of publication of the book. So the world depicted in the novella is more advanced than it was then or is now, technologically, because there are colonies on Mars, but it's declined socially. There's a lot of crime. I believe in the introduction they compared it somewhat to the world in Blade Runner, which I think that's a good comparison. Amelia is the main character of the book. She was going to university on a scholarship, but her mother took ill, so she had to stay home and take care of her mother. Then her mother passed away, but she doesn't have the resources to go back to school, and she has a lot of trouble making ends meet. Mars is kind of a goal that she's had since back when she was in college and perhaps before, but she doesn't have the resources to do it. This book is not really heavy on scientific aspects, but it's more heavy on these social aspects. It talks about the kind of things people have to do to survive. This is the first book I've read by Silvia Moreno-Garca. I liked it a lot and I plan to read more. I rated it 4 stars. And it also satisfies the requirement I had this year. I came up with some goals to read books from 6 countries that I hadn't read them before. And this satisfies my goal to read a book from a Mexican author, even though now she's Mexican-Canadian. Now I'm going to read a sample from the book so you can get an idea of the writing style. It rained again and again. 3 days of rain, and on the third, she asked for a car to drive her over to New Polanco. In the derelict building nearby, people were collecting water in pots and cans and buckets. She watched them from the window of the car. Then the surroundings changed. Elias' tall apartment building came into focus, and it was impossible that both views could be had in the same city. As soon as she walked into the apartment, she looked for a sign advertising Mars, but it wasn't on. The power might be down in the street. Elias' building probably had a generator. The sample makes me think of something else I intended to say, and that is that in this world there's a lot more separation between the haves and have-nots. And Amelia is definitely a have-not. Next I'm going to talk about The Martian by Andy Weir. Before I talk about what I think about the book, I'm going to give a short bio. And this bio is from the back of The Martian. Andy Weir built a career as a software engineer until the success of his first published novel, The Martian, allowed him to live out his dream of writing full-time. He is a lifelong space nerd and a devoted hobbyist of subjects such as relativistic physics, orbital mechanics, and the history of manned spaceflight. He also mixes a mean cocktail. In this book, Mark Watney is an astronaut. He's part of the crew of a ship called the He's part of the crew of the Ares 3 mission, which is the third mission by NASA to land people on Mars. The book doesn't state exactly when it's set, but based upon the fact that they talk about the Pathfinder mission, and that appears to have been about 20 years or so before the events of the book is probably set around 2016. So it's imagining a world where the exploration of Mars was much further advanced than it is in reality. A few days after the crew's landed, there's a bad storm. Watney is blown away from the camp where they are. The crew thinks he's dead, and they have to evacuate the planet, so they do. Watney is injured, but he didn't die. Not too long after the evacuation of the planet, NASA does discover that Watney's alive. And the remainder of the book is Watney trying to stay alive long enough so that NASA can mount a mission to save him. Watney is both a mechanical engineer and a botanist, so the things that he does are believable. This is a hard science fiction book, so it goes into great technical detail about what Watney does and also what they do at NASA and other places to try to rescue him. I mostly found these details interesting, but I occasionally found them a little tedious. There are also some off-color jokes and statements made that some people might find a little upsetting. I have a technical background myself, so I didn't find that the things that were said or the way people were portrayed were unrealistic. I think that we technical types, not everyone, but a lot of us tend to be a little awkward. We're better dealing with things than people, and sometimes that shows. And so the behavior in the statements of jokes of people in the book, I found quite realistic. I found this book very thrilling, kind of edge-of-the-seat thrilling, but I recommend it for anyone who doesn't have a problem with all the technical detail. There is a lot of it, and who doesn't have a problem with some of the off-color jokes and statements. There's really not that many of them. I liked it a lot, and I rated it 4 stars. And there was an excerpt in the back of the book from his next novel, and I don't remember the name of it. I had borrowed it from Libby, and I returned it, but that sounded good too. Next, I want to read a couple of samples from the book so that you get an idea of the writing style. The first is Log Entry, Sol 71. As predicted, it took 12 hours to charge the batteries to full. I came straight home as soon as they were done. Time to make plans for Sirius 4, and I think it'll be a multi-day field trip. Looks like the power and battery recharging are solved. Food's not a problem. There's plenty of space to store things. Water's even easier than food. I need 2 liters per day to be comfortable. When I do my trip to Ares 4 for real, I'll need to bring the oxygenator. But it's big and I don't want to screw with it right now. So I'll rely on O2 and CO2 filters for Sirius 4. And here's the second sample. Something's coming in. Yes, yes, it's Pathfinder. The crowded room burst into applause and cheers. Venkat slapped an unknown technician on the back while Bruce pumped his fists in the air. The ad hoc Pathfinder Control Center was an accomplishment in itself. Over the last 20 days, a team of PHOL engineers had worked around the clock to piece together an antiquated computers, repair broken components, network everything, and install hastily made software that allowed the old systems to interact with a modern deep space network. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Perhaps leave a comment. I hope you have a wonderful day.